Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Businesses podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about some of our favorite marketing tools, tactics, and kind of why we like these. We spend a lot of time on this podcast talking about strategy, and strategy is always super important, and it's often, way too often, overlooked. But at the same time, sometimes a business just needs a boost, to generate some cash flow, to get a quick win, and to do some things like that. So I thought we'd mix it up a little bit today and just kind of talk about, those kinds of things. So I'm excited to have our regular panelists, Paul, Jen, Dan, and Ian. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So I am going to start us out. One of my favorite tools or tactics and why is a sales funnel. I'm a business made simple coach, and if you have read anything from Donald Miller, you know that one of the first things that StoryBrand and Business Made Simple recommends is to get a sales funnel in place, and I think that's incredibly important. And a sales funnel, is having something. I mean, we've got a sales funnel system that we actually have implemented called the Customer Generation Machine, and we've got that as a registered trademark, which is kind of cool. And it's basically a system. It's creating a landing page that has two calls to action: scheduling an appointment, or either downloading an ebook or a checklist, something like case study, whatever's appropriate, or signing up for a webinar. It depends on the type of the business we're working with. It takes people, once they claim that offer, if they go for the ebook or the webinar, they have a sign up page. So there's a second page. It's important to build out all the structure for tracking purposes. Then, we always are inviting people to jump the line and say, I downloaded this ebook, but by golly, I'm ready to start and have a consultation. So yeah, I want to go ahead and book that. So we've got an automated booking calendar system integrated into these. And then we've got, a 6, 7 email nurture sequence, delivers the asset, or, tells them, how to register for with the webinar details, I should say, or how they download the ebook or checklist, whatnot. And then really kind of a sales focused, but really, I mean, it's really nurture to help guide people through, the buyer's journey with a, 5 to 7 email series, overcoming objections, talking about the value of our solution, definitely clearly explaining that we understand the problem that the client has, and I love that because it's, not everybody when they lands on your website are ready to, to go out on that first date, and that's what we often ask of them way too many times. And so if you give them an opportunity to raise their hand and say, yeah, I'm kind of interested, I want to learn more, but I'm not ready to talk to you, you've got to do that. And most businesses fail horribly when it comes to building a list. And I think, if the pandemic taught me anything, it was that the businesses that had a list or had repeat customers that they could go back to, that got hammered with the COVID economy, they did well. Those businesses that didn't have that, they didn't have a chance. So, it's all about the list. The gold is in the list. And so I think it's just super important to kind of build that out. So that's probably one of my favorite things to do, and usually a great starting point, especially if you need a quick win and a quick infusion of, revenue into your business. Next, let's go to Ian. Ian, I know you're a little bit of a nerd in a good way.
Thanks, buddy.
And so I know you really like to jump in and play around with a lot of tools, as do Paul and I. Tell me about one of the tools you like to use.
Sure. And this isn't going to be what you think it is. So first of all, I would say as an agency, we use a ton of tools on behalf of our clients and our prospects. And that's because knowledge, well, knowledge is power, but in this case, knowledge feeds the beast. So you need to understand like what's happening in order to, like you can't change things unless you know what's happening. So we're big fans of SEM Rush. and also Bright Local, and those are just two very, very good. We basically use them as diagnostic and ongoing monitoring tools
Yep.
for our clients. But the one I wanted to share, and this is just because I know that SEMrush and Bright Local, they cost money. Not every business, in fact, I think they're more geared for agencies to use than for end user businesses. So what I wanted to share was more like down and dirty, get in the mud. This is what any business can do. Anybody, you don't need a tool. All you need is your Chrome browser. And so let me share just kind of one method that any owner can do in order to understand where their business stands a little bit. It is not as deep as what we can do with our tools, but it is directional, and it will give you some information that you probably don't know right now because you just don't know these tricks. But one of them is open up your Chrome browser, open up Incognito. I'm not going to go into the details. Google it if you need help with that. But what Incognito does is basically allow you to view the information on Google without it being connected with your own account. So it's as if you're anyone else in the world looking at stuff. And that's important for what I'm going to share. So the first tip is search for your business. So actually put in your business name, look at how it shows up on maps, search results, click on the business in maps and look to see what people are actually seeing about your business. Where do you show up in the map listings? Where do you show up in organic results? Is it portraying a good reputation? Does the information, the photos, the questions that are being asked on there, do they represent your business well, and do they make sense? And also look at that map listing of all the businesses that are similar to yours. And there's another way to do this too, which I'll share in a second, but which is more general to your industry. But look at how you compare the number of reviews, the rating of your business, because people who are searching for your business are looking at that every single day, and you're losing opportunities if you're not competing well. So the second method is to do the same type of search in an incognito window, but search for your industry. So if you're a dentist, search for dentist near me, Sarasota, or whatever town you're in or city you're in. And then look at the listings. Again, look at the map listings, look at the organic results, see how you compare to your competition. If you can't be found in the organic results or in the map listings, big problems, because nobody can find you. And then the other part of that is to then look at try to do a search for your products or services. So an example of that is like dental implants Portland, if you're a dental implantist in Portland. But again, look at the maps, look at the listings, see where you show up, and that is how the world views you. And if you are lower than page 2, you don't exist to the searchers. And if you're lower than your competition on the first page, you want to improve that. So that's just a really quick kind of diagnostic method that anybody can do. And so I wanted to share that because tools are expensive, and nobody wants to invest in tools if they don't need them in an ongoing basis.
Cool. So just a quick follow-up question. So let's say that I have a business and I have 2 locations, and I want to do a search for my remote location. Will that incognito window, just to clarify for our listeners, will that incognito window still sense my IP address and bias search results?
So the way you get around that, yes, it will. So that it will not sense your immediate IP address, because you're basically blocking that in incognito. What it will see is your internet service provider's IP address. So when I do incognito, I actually show up in a couple towns over, because that's where the head office of that company is, or the nearest kind of router point. But to get around that, all you do is, as I was saying, with like search dentist near me, Sarasota, if you put the town or the city that extra or secondary location is in, that will give you the results that most people would be searching for. Because Google, if you're not in incognito, Google will pull in wherever you are. And so that's the equivalent of doing that.
Well, and it'll also pull in your past browser history too. So
Correct.
if you've Googled yourself in the past, it's going to bias your results if you're not using an incognito window. And we talk with people all the time who think that they're ranking pretty well because they've been doing their own searching of their own business through their browser while they're logged into their their Google account,
and they show up at the top.
Yeah, and that's not true. Don't
Yeah.
that's why Ian's tip, I think, is really an awesome tip, and a great free way to to kind of get a feel for how you're really doing. Dan, let's go to you. You've
Sure.
got a pretty cool new press release solution. You want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, so I have a press release service that is kind of based on some of my experiences in the past with working with traditional PR services, where the way usually a lot of these services go that are out there. There's 4 or 5 core ones that people use, and the issue with a lot of them, though, that I found was you can do them, but they'll just basically blast out to a lot of low quality sites, and it just felt like kind of window dressing, where you're saying, oh well, look at this, it got picked up by 2,000 media outlets, and deep down I was like, no, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so, and at the same time, I saw a problem with, you have to write your own press release with a lot of these, or pay extra. You have to, you can't necessarily optimize the press release. You have to pay extra for images and videos, and then you'll blast it out, and then it'll get picked up, and then it'll go away in like 30 days. I mean, it's not like a really robust thing with the status quo. So I said, what if there's a different way to have a better, more robust backbone? And so our Master Blaster service that we're rolling out is totally a press release that's fully written for you. It has the capability to be fully optimized, which you can't do right now on a lot of things. You can have a distribution network that is built on a variety of authoritative signals. And this is probably the biggest difference, is with the distribution. We've talked about it before here. We had Lane Hoke from Signal Genesis, who was big on this. And I think really after we had Lane on, I really gravitated to this, because what he was talking about is, it's not about blasting it out, and it's not about it getting picked up. It's about Google actually generating authoritative signals off of your press release. That's where it's at, not the pickups. So Lane, if you talk to him about signals, he'll have about 10 different signals that you can discuss. I mean, there are Google My Business signals that you get from doing a press release right, image signals, video signals, on-page signals, citation signals, social signals, all of this stuff. And so the way we do it is we make sure that the press release has images, video, it's tied into your GMB, and it also, for a little bit, like $100 more a month, we set up a media room on your website, so that everything you get as far as a press release is put right into your website. And it's just quite frankly, I think it's quickly become the best option out there for press releases. I did it because colleagues like ours were crying out for it. And so that was my first thought on it, that heck, there isn't even stuff out there that writes it for you without really charging you a big upcharge. But when I switched to this idea of doing press releases based on social signals, or all kinds of signals, I mean, I can't even tell you. I mean, you can have something where there's 500 signals that are related to your press release, and it will live on the web for at least 90 days, if not forever, compared to everything else that's out there. So I just think it's a really smarter, more authentic way to go. And, so that's I can't take credit for the idea. It was Lane at Signal Genesis, but he is definitely the guy who has fueled that inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we love that kind of approach too. Paul, what can you share with us about maybe some SEO ninja moves?
I'm glad you asked that question.
Pure stealth, he said.
Because we could talk about this forever. We hear this from clients a lot as well about what's one thing I can do. And it's really basics. You want a ninja trick, here it is, basics, fundamentals. Get your basics because if you don't have your structured data in place, for instance, that can hurt you. There's really no silver bullet, but I think we have to realize we live in a digital world now. I think a lot of people still haven't accepted that. And like Dan was just talking about the links between all of your online properties, it's everything working together. You can build internal links, and that's one component. You can get your structured data set properly. That's one component. Making sure that you don't have a bunch of duplicate content. That's one component. So I get the best thing I can say from that perspective really is recognizing that everything works together. It's cumulative. And I don't know that there's any one silver magic bullet that you can say, do this and you'll rank number one, because it doesn't work like that. And that's not how Google works. And one thing that I've said in the past, when we talk about, domain authority and rankings, is that, and Google themselves has said this, is that Google doesn't rank websites, they rank web pages. Now, your home page is probably going to rank the highest, and that's going to get the most traffic. But when someone does a search on Google for something, Google is going to return the most relevant result, whether that's your home page or a blog post, even a YouTube video. And all these different content channels work together. You can't ignore video anymore. So that video is kind of a pain. I get it, but you can't ignore video. People would rather watch video than read a blog post. And YouTube, owned by Google, most people know that, is the second largest search engine on the planet. People spend a lot of time on YouTube watching videos, and they're not watching cat videos. Okay. They're watching, I think the largest category, if you will, of searches on YouTube is how-to videos. And that's something service area businesses in particular can really take advantage of.
Yeah.
You have taken an HVAC company, for instance. They get calls about how to program their thermostat. Now, you cannot make money sending a tech out to program a thermostat, but you can do how-to videos. Here's how you program a thermostat. Here's a generic. Okay, here's specific thermostats. And you put that out there, and that gets your name out there. And when people do have an issue, their air conditioner breaks, there's a good chance they're going to call you because they already have, to some extent, a relationship with you. You have provided useful information to them, and they're going to remember that. And a lot of times you have companies, they're like, well, I don't want to give out all this free information. Well, guess what? Your competitor's already doing it. That information is out there.
Yeah. Well, and the example that you just shared is not, I mean, it's you're giving free information away, but you're actually doing it for a good business case, because if you send out a tech, like you said, just to program a thermostat, you're losing money on that deal.
Absolutely.
The customer's probably not happy because they had to pay for something that fundamental. And if they could have gone online, watched a video and solved it themselves, it probably would have created a better feeling about your business anyway. So, it's not always about, am I giving a bunch of stuff away? I mean, really, people need to think about the internet being really value in advance. I mean, it's relationship building and trust building that you have to do before you can expect somebody to buy from you. And, that line of thinking is 20 years old, and it needs to go if you're trying to grow your business.
Yeah, it does. had a call yesterday with a client, and fairly new client we're trying to get some things going with, and we had this discussion about you have to look at things, and it's about phone systems and voice over IP, and you have to think of it from a customer's perspective, that they don't know really what they want. All they know is a phone, or they don't know things exist. They have this old phone system and they're looking to improve, upgrade. They may not even know what voice over IP is. They're not going to look for that. They're going to look for phone systems, for business phone systems. So in our client's mind, they're like, well, we offer voice over IP. It saves you money. It has a lot of advantages. It's like, yeah, you know that. But when someone tells their office manager, hey, we need a new phone system, they're not going to go look for voice over IP. They're going to go look for business phone systems, or they're going to go look at what they have, this old phone system, in a closet, and it's got, Panasonic phone system. Okay. New Panasonic phone system. They don't know what voice over IP is.
Yeah.
They're not going to look for that. So you have to put yourself in the customer's position and realize they don't know what you know.
Yep, absolutely. Jen, I think you're a big fan of content repurposing. Talk a little bit about how your team does it and why you like it so much.
Sure, absolutely. This is a tactic that can be used from the very smallest business, so the one person solopreneur, all the way up to anybody on the Fortune 500 list whatsoever. So it's really applicable to all, and it's more a mindset to start with than any particular tool set that helps you do that. There are tools out there, and yes, you can do this manually, but it's first of all the idea that any kind of content that we produce in the company is going to be repurposed. What that means is, take for example a blog. You have a blog written, goes up on your website. That can't be it. So I want you to start thinking of every piece of content that you produce. How could you repurpose it 4 to 6 to 8 different times? And what that means is not, putting up the blog one week and then again at the other week. It really is taking the content that is in the blog and then repurposing it for other channels. So what that could mean is repurposing the blog that is on your website out into a LinkedIn article for one of your executives. That way, they're blogging on LinkedIn. So right now it's called LinkedIn articles. Who knows when they're going to change that? But that way, your executives can have presence on LinkedIn, have the full blog out there written under their name, and they can get extra exposure to their network. Same blog, same content. It's okay to be doing that, but that's a different way to repurpose that type of content. A next way could be to go through that blog and to pick out all the statistics that you have listed in the blog and put those out on social media. Another way to do it is if you interviewed anyone in the blog, take out all those quotes and put those out on social media. We have to remember that different people learn and are attracted to different pieces of content. Some are very factual based, so seeing a statistic about a topic that is of interest to them, that's going to appeal to them. Other folks are more looking for, what are the thought leaders saying about this topic? So important quotes of direction or of opinion that come from the interview that you may have done for your blog, that'll work out on social media. So I just want you to be thinking that everything you produce, it can be sort of sliced and diced into your other channels. And that's important for a couple of different reasons. Going back to the solopreneur all the way up to the Fortune 500 company, everybody is looking for time-saving methods, using time and money more efficiently, and getting a lot more done in the shrinking amount of time that we do have. So content repurposing really does help you do that. If you want to take it beyond text, you can take your blog and make it into a video, an animated video. You can take it and make it into an infographic. So I want you to start thinking about every kind of piece of content that you produce. How can this be repurposed, 6 or 8 times? Now, and I don't want to get stuck on a blog, like, oh, we don't have a blog. Do you have a newsletter? Do you have a favorite post this week that really blew up in a positive way? Every piece of content, think, oh, is there 6 or 8 different ways we can repurpose this for the other channels? Could we take a simple a post that we did on social media, and could we expand that into a blog? Could we expand that into a white paper? So it's just the tip really is, how can I take every piece of content that we're producing in our business and repurpose it, either grow it or shrink it 6 to 8 times? And that is my tip.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, so much valuable information right there. I think about a lot of people we talk to, they always struggle with, well, what am I going to put in an email newsletter? Well, you know what? If you're writing a regular blog post, just because it's posted on your website doesn't mean that people are seeing it. So make that, summarize your blog post and include that in your newsletter. Take the popular social media posts that did really well, like you said, and turn that into an element in your social media into your email newsletter. There are so many things that you can do. I actually think, every subhead of a blog post is a potential social media post.
That's a great idea.
So,
And you kind of touched on something there. That would be a pushback that we get. So if it's, first of all, oh my God, how am I going to create all this content? The second thing is, well, we already have that blog, or we already said that in our newsletter. Well, I mean, unfortunately, nobody is sitting waiting for your next post to come out or your next newsletter to come out. So although you have a piece of content on one of your channels, maybe you have audience members that are missing that. So repurposing like that, it's not, no one's going to be like, hey, we saw this already. We have yet to have any of our clients, our customers, or our clients' customers say, hey, you posted that thing twice on Twitter. So, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's amazing. So that kind of leads me into I was going to talk about another topic, but I'm gonna kind of elaborate on that, because we've just started to roll out really a content repurposing model, and it's driven by video. And it's like one of the first things we are recommending to people now is, if you don't have a frequently asked questions page on your website, complete that. And do it, if you have different product lines or different types of customers, focus on one of those first and build out the frequently asked questions. Then you do a video on each one of those. That video is transcribed. It's turned into a blog post. The video goes onto Facebook. It goes onto YouTube. It's embedded on your website. The transcription is your blog post on that with the video embedded there. All of that feeds the social media, like you just talked about, Jen. You can chunk out pieces of the video to turn into social media posts. You can use, some of the elements of the wording and turn that into social media posts. And then we actually do what Dan was talking about earlier, where we write a press release about that video that we did to build social signals and SEO signals. And so it's like this mini little content machine. It's just a factory that just kicks ass. So we're really excited about that, and it's all built around the idea of content repurposing. So it's huge. So anyway, that's my next tip.
And if I could just piggyback on that for the content part, after all, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think a lot of people out there probably don't realize that, you're not, even with LinkedIn, I get this question a lot, which is, oh gosh, but if I post the entire blog on my LinkedIn profile, am I going to be doing duplicate content? There's no evidence of anything like that is going to penalize you at all. Like, do it on your blog, do it all on your LinkedIn profile, and then slice and dice, some of this stuff, because, think about it. Are you looking at the same 7 places at once all the time? Right. Probably not. And so, instead, think about that masterpiece of content that you're going to have and all the ways that you can actually use it. I mean, you can definitely have like a video, as DePaul was saying about video, you can't ignore that anymore. So why not, either do it live or do a teleprompter based on that blog?
Yeah.
It may seem redundant to a lot of folks who are so close to it, but I can't tell you how many times the people out there are never going to be like, oh, well, I just saw this somewhere else. I don't quite buy that.
Yeah.
I think I find it pretty rare.
Even if they do, that's a good
That's
thing,
okay.
because it's reinforcing that message.
Yep.
People need to think about, especially if they're thinking about social media, they need to think about social media as a river. It's a stream that's flowing by, and the likelihood that you're going to catch something when it's originally posted is not very high. People don't go to your Facebook page and read your business Facebook page, or go to your LinkedIn. And then maybe LinkedIn, they do a little bit differently because it is a different network with different behaviors. But, it's very rare that people are going to go to your Twitter page, to your Twitter profile, and read every single tweet you did.
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen. They get it in a news feed, which is that river that just is flowing by constantly. So repeating content is actually amplification, and then dramatically increases the likelihood that it's going to be seen.
Yeah, and to that point, I can't believe I said this yesterday, but I think I'm really believing it now, is that, part of that, all of that repurposing is, I said, Google My Business is your new website. It is your new website for the know and like phase of the marketing hourglass. Because if you think about it, they're gonna see that if they're gonna do a search to exactly what Paul was talking about. If they're going to have questions or anything like that might be related to your business, they're not going to be like suddenly, oh, well, gosh, what website should I go type in right now? They're going to look, and they're going to find, and they're going to discover. And this is where you repurpose your stuff and post some of it to a certain degree on Google My Business to show, that there's some authority there. So the ways that you can really divide and conquer, I think, they're just growing.
Yeah.
So take advantage of all of them.
Yeah. And there are some nice automated tools that certainly can help you, but you don't want to be over reliant on AI, artificial intelligence, or just, using an automated tool too much. I mean, it always is going to require some intervention and some quality assurance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Ian, when I hear from a business that they need business fast, a lot of times my mind goes right to Google Ads, because, that's like the super highway that sends that search traffic directly to your ad. Now, people may or may not click on those ads, and that's up for debate. But talk about some Google ad stuff that you see that is pretty cool and works really well.
Yeah, first of all, I want to comment on that it's only up for debate until they see the results. Once they see the results, and just to kind of lay the groundwork, Google Ads is rarely the first thing we as an agency suggest people do, right? We believe in planting the seeds of SEO, growing that, but SEO is a big ship. It takes time to turn, and those results will help you flourish in time. But oftentimes, just as you said, Ken, Google Ads is a quick hit of sugar to the system to get it going. And the reason it's so powerful, opposed to other ad platforms, is because you're imposing yourself into the actual buying decision of the user, the prospect, the qualified buyers. Because when somebody Googles something and you select the right keywords to target from an ads perspective and present the right ad to them, you're actually helping them in their buying decision, because they're actively searching for, like, say somebody searches for plumber Bradford in the town I'm in, or leaky toilet, leaky toilet, fix leaky toilet, help, that is a qualified buyer, and they are immediately calling the person that they think is the most qualified right away. But here's some ninja tips, because Google Ads, first of all, I had a last point, which was hire an expert. I'm going to actually put that first, because it'll save you a ton of time and a ton of heartache.
And money.
and money. You have to have enough budget to make it worthwhile as well, because some of these keywords that you're going to be bidding on, like I'm helping an HVAC guy, and his budget's low enough that it's actually hard for us to even bid on some of the most profitable keywords, because they're $30 per click, right?
Yeah.
And for him, his daily budget is $30 because he's got like $1,000 budget per month, right? So you have to, without me managing it, I think he would have a really hard time. But the first point I wanted to say is you have to constantly be optimizing. A lot of people, especially who manage their own Google Ads accounts, think it's set it and forget it. That is the absolute worst thing you can do, because Google Ads, any ad platform, there's constant degradation. Like it will just fall off the charts. Magically, you'll continue to spend the exact same amount of money because you've set your ad budget, but the results will keep getting lower and lower unless you optimize it. Interestingly enough, we've used a lot of side tools to help us optimize Google Ads on behalf of clients. And over the last, I would say it's probably the last 4 or 5 months, Google's actually been refreshing how their Google Ads platform is. And they're showing a lot of optimizations that people should be doing within the Google Ads platform. So this next tip is actually a warning. Do not listen to every recommendation Google makes. You have to remember, Google exists to make money. Like, they're really nice, I'm sure. They're nice people, in the back, like creating these algorithms, but their ad platform is there for them to make money, not you to make money. Although if you make money, they make money. So, if it's done well, but one thing, like Google Ads, no matter how optimized we've done it for clients, the Google Ads platform and the campaigns, Google will always say, hey, if you raise your budget by X dollars per month, you'll get X results. And there is truth in that, right? Like, if you keep raising your budget, of course, you're going to see more leads. But don't get sucked into, Google will always say, let us fully automate your bidding process. Worst decision you can possibly do, because now you're throwing all responsibility into how the bidding is done into the bidding platform's hands. And if everybody does that, it's just climbing it's an auction, right? To get in front of people. That's how it works. And it's just craziness. The last tip for Google recommendations to avoid is don't accept, it'll have, Google's very smart. In their recommendation section, it'll say, hey, we think you should be targeting these keywords. And it says, basically dig into the details or accept all. And I have to believe a ton of people click accept all. And that, again, is the very worst thing you can do, because I know from experience, I review all of the stuff Google says, because some of it's good, some of it's bad. But with the keywords, you have to be very careful, because Google will always try to make them broad match, which is usually a bad decision. It means any derivative of a word will be used to show your ad. And so there's a ton of examples of why that's a bad thing. But, for windows and doors, I have a windows and doors client. Say somebody is looking for a garage door, and my client doesn't sell garage doors. If Google says, you should be using the word door as a broad match, you will get garage doors, you'll get interior doors, you'll get dog doors, pet doors, which is not good for your business.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful about what you accept from Google. But I have to say, some of those tips are really good that Google's giving. Some are horrible. And the last thing is, make sure you have call and form tracking set up for your ads, because that is the closest thing you can get to how to measure success with Google Ads. Because otherwise it's just saying, oh, you got this many clicks, you got this many impressions. But once you start getting into the actual actions that mean the most to your business, which are usually phone calls and forms, that's huge. I have a bunch of other tips, but those are the main ones that I think if people would be really smart to pay attention to, and they are ninja tricks. So
I'm going to add one more, which is
yeah,
when you get that coupon in the mail, when you set up your Google My Business page, or periodically just from Google, and it says, hey, here's a $125 credit for Google Ads. Don't just put that in and expect that that's going to rock your world and make a big difference and judge the performance of a Google ad campaign based on that. It's what you call it, sugar to what? Earlier, Ian,
it's like high glucose sugar to your system. You're like, woohoo, like we're rocking it, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of action, but it might not
Yeah.
be actually building the bones of your business, right?
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. Dan, you deal with this a lot more than I do, and it's a platform that constantly perplexes me. And that's LinkedIn. What's a go-to move that you recommend for active LinkedIn users?
Yeah. Well, I think the best way to look at LinkedIn is kind of bit by bit, a little bit, rather than trying to, eat the whole thing at once. And I can tell you this much: I got when I do any LinkedIn training, and there's like 9 different sessions that I have them choose from. The one that they have to do first before they can do anything is their LinkedIn profile. And so the reason why is not just that, it's right there and it's yours or anything like that. It's that I will bet you anything that if any of us do a Google search for our names, we'll probably see the LinkedIn profile as the very first search result, even before our own businesses. So it really behooves us to look at how we can absolutely optimize that. And some people, it's amazing how many people don't really. We said the phrase "set it and forget it." I think there's a lot of that when it comes to profiles, and part of that includes the headline and the being great and I'll just say a few things here, some different stuff associated with that. Don't just throw up your title and your company. You're kind of basically giving it all away. Nobody's got a reason then to sort of look at your profile then. However, if you say something that might be interesting and attractive and captivating to get them to say, well, what does that mean? Then that's really what's going to draw them in. I think that's a first place to go with your headline. But then also, how many types of images have you done? How many types of posts have you put on? How many different videos have you put? All of these things that can make your profile a true multimedia center that's constantly updated. That's the place that's going to do it. We said Google My Business could be your first homepage, but I think your LinkedIn profile is very much that too. Same kind of thing. Who's to say that, they're going to go to your website before they go to your LinkedIn profile? Probably go to your profile first. And if all you've ever done is just kind of say, well, at best, here's some stuff about where I worked and here's what I did, and there's nothing else there, then why do you think I'm just going to buy that you're a credible expert and I should go on to your website? It's got to be, there's some entertainment value that's going to happen here. And so I would say that is part of it. And then the other part is you've got to refresh it with posts all the time. I post pretty much every day. I'm not telling people that they have to, but it doesn't have to be a work of art. Just rip it and rip it. Just, you got a thought, put it out there. I mean, we're not doing Shakespeare here. Like, you want to be known as a thought leader. Well, don't wait 5 weeks to like craft something of beauty to put it up there. People don't have the memory for that. They really are more about what they see on a regular basis. Do not do one of these stupid polls. My God, that's like the worst thing to ever happen to LinkedIn. I wish they didn't exist. Don't do those. They're clickbaity. They're awful. Don't do it. But definitely, put a little bit of thought, say over a day or two, about, what are some things that really speak to me, that are for my industry or something I'm passionate about, that it just comes to mind. Can it be a status update or an article even? So those are the things that I think really put a lot of energy into your profile, and then you can worry about other ways that you can connect and reach out to people. But it's really a lot like your website. If your profile's not up to speed and they've got nothing to look at that looks interesting, then they're going to be like, okay, well, so much for this guy. It's just not gonna it's not gonna mean anything.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
that's where I start.
Well, how important is video on LinkedIn these days?
I think it's only becoming more important. There's some debate about whether to do it live or whether to do it recorded and things like that. But I do say this much: for whatever reason, I can't tell you why. The text only versions of updates seem to do the best. I don't know why that is. It shouldn't be, but you wouldn't think. But it just
without a photo or anything.
Without anything. And that's, as we sit here today. However, that is not to dissuade anyone from stopping and not doing video. I would do video and I would mix it up because that's what keeps it interesting. And I do think there's a place for video. Absolutely. One of the guys I admire that I follow a lot is a guy who might do like a 6-minute video, which, seems to it goes against the laws of everything we're told about video, right? But he does it a lot of times on a Saturday or Sunday because that's when people are less on the site. So he gets more visibility that way. So, it's a little bit of trial and error, but there's a place for video.
Yeah.
Absolutely there is.
Yeah. Well, so just to follow up on that 6-minute length video kind of thing, I was talking with Mari Smith a month or so back, and she said that Facebook actually, the optimal performance for Facebook videos is that 5 to 10 minute range.
Yeah.
So, as long as you're adding value and you're covering a subject, deeply enough to where it's interesting for people, that really is kind of that sweet spot. It's not so long that you're going to lose interest and people are going to get distracted by something else, but it's long enough, to keep people watching it most of the way through. And that, I guess, is registering really well with algorithms these days.
Yeah. I mean, as Ed, with anything, just take a look at oftentimes even with the mobile app for LinkedIn, because sometimes for whatever reason the mobile app may do better than your desktop LinkedIn. You can certainly do a lot more of that live on the fly video with the mobile versus it's a little more, I won't say clunky, but you got to upload a raw file and stuff to the desktop version. Yeah. So stuff like that, but don't get so wrapped up in the day, the time, the format. Just put it all out there and then see what you've got. It will tell you a lot based on exactly what you just said, Ken. The analytics tell you everything about the kind of content that's working.
Yeah. Awesome. Paul, we've talked a little bit about email in this conversation, and I think email has become grossly overlooked by people. I think that way too many people think it's a tired channel, and it can very much be an overused and abused channel. Absolutely no doubt about that. But I think it's also really super important for a lot of people to do. So what's a great strategy if you've got, customer list, but, if people, but you haven't really done much with it?
Well, the first thing with your customer list is you have to organize it. When you're talking about a CRM, I'm big on tags. I love the idea of tagging. And what I mean by that is, let's take a painter example. For example, maybe you've done cabinet painting, but you haven't done any other interior painting, or you've done interior painting, but you haven't done exterior painting. And so you can assign tags to your contacts that, okay, I did cabinet painting for this person, but we've never done any other type of interior painting. You can send a very targeted email out to everyone that you've done interior painting for, but no exterior painting. You can send them an email saying, hey, we painted the inside of your house 6 months ago, but what about the outside of your house? And like you said about email being abused, you want to piss off your clients, send them irrelevant emails on a daily basis. That that will get them marked as spam very quickly. And so you're right, email has been abused, and you have to be, there's a balance that you have to find, because you can't just fire out irrelevant emails. And so I think that the most important thing is to get your list organized. And if you have a big list, yeah, that's a project. So maybe you chunk it out, spend 30 minutes a day getting your list organized and tabbed, because obviously you invoice your customers, so you can go back, maybe use QuickBooks, whatever you use, but you can go back and look at that and say, okay, these are the projects or the or the services that I've done for this client. Because if you don't have that, you cannot send targeted emails. And that's the power of email. Has a great ROI, especially with existing customers, because they already know you. And if you did a good job and they like the service you provided, you've already gone through the awareness, the know, the like, the trust. You already have that. So why not reach back out to those customers and say, okay, we did interior painting, but we didn't do exterior painting, or we haven't painted your cabinets yet.
Yeah.
So get your email list organized, take advantage of a CRM, get your tags in place, and use email intelligently. Don't just fire out these generic email blasts, because that will irritate people.
Yeah. I'm reminded of, some of the early success stories for restaurants that were being shut down due to COVID, and they basically couldn't have anybody come into their dining rooms at all. If they had a list and they emailed their list and they said, hey, we're still open, you can still place orders. You can either get it delivered, or we'll do curbside pickup for you. Those restaurants were able to keep going and operating. If they didn't have a list, they were screwed. So you got to have a list. Don't buy a list. Build a list organically. Go through your emails, go through your accounting system, go through your job and production systems, whatever you got, but build that list and then segment it like Paul talked about with tags. And then, if you need a boost in the arm for business, reach out to your existing customers. Give them a reason to buy from you again, or ask them if they know somebody who might be interested in your service, and pass your information to them. I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask. One of the things that we learned recently, I think many of us were in a session, that was run by John Jansch, that was talking about, what is it, like 89% of people have a business that they would be very, very willing to refer, but only 23% of those people actually do the referrals. So if you don't ask and you don't have a system, you don't assume it's going to happen. That's a massive gap, right? So you got to take action. Jen, we're going to wrap up with you. Last but not least, how can someone get more Google reviews?
Well, I thought you were leading to a great segue there about asking, right? So asking for reviews, same thing, asking for the Google reviews. That's the first thing. I mean, to ask for them, right? And if we take it from the point of view of the business owner, the company, sometimes asking for reviews is just, I've run into some of our clients are just like, oh, I don't really want to ask, but yeah, do go ahead, ask. If you've done a great project, a great job, definitely ask. There are some ways to make that whole process a lot easier. If you start off with a contract with a client, so if you're doing any kind of service or long project work, you can have the request for a review right in there in your contract, so you can start to seed that idea with your client early on. And then asking for it is just like one of the contractual obligations that, you guys agreed to. So that could make it easier. Next way to get more Google reviews is you can give more Google reviews yourself, right? Or operating a
Yeah.
company as you are, you've got vendors, their business needs to grow, so start reviewing your vendors on Google for sure. Another way, and you had those statistics there, and just because around 20% give the reviews, that doesn't mean that other people don't want to. It could be a matter of them forgetting to, them meaning to, them not knowing what to say, them not knowing where exactly to post the review. So if you use a review campaign system, that can really help get the reviews going. And what I mean by that, I think we all use it in our businesses. We have an option to do Google reviews, and what that means is your potential clients, or your actual clients, your potential reviewers, are sent an email asking for the review, and in that place, you as a business owner could draft a couple of sentences about, like, here's a sample review for us. We did ABC for you. Could you please review us on that? And then your client has the chance to go, that's a great review, or just copy paste and post that as the review, or they have the chance to edit it. But it's easier to edit something than it is to think up, okay, they did a great job, right? That's not really all that helpful for sure. So I would say those things. First of all, ask for them. Second of all, make it easy for your clients to give you the reviews. You yourself give reviews, and yeah, just don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Guys, I thought this was a lot of fun. Anybody have any parting thoughts?
I'd just say on the reviews is what makes it easier is just think about your very best time when you actually get something positive happen. That moment is about a good 48-hour window. And if you ask them for reviews right after that high that they've just felt, there's nothing to be scared about. They want to do it. And as somebody much wiser than me said, is don't deprive them of the opportunity to build your business. So go for it.
All right. I think that's a perfect place to stop. So thanks, guys. Ian, tell everybody we said hello for you. Thanks for
listening. What's so funny is I think that was a book delivery from the summit we were just at last
really?
week.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm expecting a book and it just arrived. So
all right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we have this week. So thanks everybody, and catch us next week. Take care.